In 53 BC, the Roman general Crassus led 7 legions into the deserts of Persia, seeking glory. He found only disaster. At the Battle of Carrhae, his army was annihilated by the Parthians. But amid the slaughter, one entire legion, 10,000 of Rome's toughest soldiers, simply vanished. They weren't recorded as killed or captured. They walked into the dust of the East and disappeared from history. Until, 2,000 years later, a bizarre clue emerged from an ancient Chinese chronicle. The Battle of Carrhae was one of Rome's most humiliating defeats. Crassus, one of the richest men in history, was arrogant and outmaneuvered. His slow-moving heavy infantry were no match for the swift Parthian horse archers. The Romans were encircled, peppered with arrows for hours under a burning sun. Crassus was killed, his head allegedly used as a prop in a play. Roman records are meticulous about the losses, listing the dead, the captured, and the few who escaped. But this is where the official story breaks down. Crassus's son, Publius, commanded a large contingent of elite Gallic cavalry and legionaries. During the battle, he led a charge and was cut off from the main army. His entire force, thousands of men, was never seen again. The historian Pliny mentions that the survivors of Carrhae were used by the Parthians as forced labor, but he makes no specific mention of Publius's legion. An entire legion of Rome's best doesn't just evaporate. The first major theory is the simplest. They were wiped out. They were either killed in their detached engagement, or they tried to march back to Roman territory and died of thirst and starvation in the unforgiving desert. This is the most logical explanation, and for centuries it was the accepted truth. A tragic but unremarkable end for soldiers on a failed campaign. Yet for an event of this magnitude, the lack of any physical evidence or specific historical account is deeply strange.
Here is where the investigation gets weird. The Parthian Empire had a common practice for dealing with captured enemy soldiers. Instead of keeping them in the west where they might escape back to Roman lands, they would march them to the far eastern frontier of their empire, near modern-day Turkmenistan. There, they were forced to serve as border guards and mercenaries, defending Parthia against its own enemies, the nomadic tribes of Central Asia. This theory suggests the lost legion wasn't destroyed, it was relocated. They became a mercenary army, thousands of miles from home, serving a foreign emperor. They would have retained their fighting techniques and discipline, making them a formidable force on the Parthian border. They were no longer Roman legionaries, but they were still a Roman legion, a ghost army serving in exile at the edge of the known world, their story lost to their countrymen. The story could have ended there, a plausible but unprovable theory. But in the 1950s, an Oxford professor of Chinese history named Homer H. Dubbs stumbled upon a passage in the official history of China's Han Dynasty. It described a battle that took place in 36 BC, 17 years after Carrhae, on China's far western border. The Chinese were fighting a confederation of Xiongnu nomads, but the nomads had a group of strange foreign mercenaries fighting with them. This is the detail that resets the investigation. The Chinese chronicle described these mercenaries using bizarre tactics. They fought in a fish-scale formation, a description that perfectly matches the famous Roman testudo, or tortoise formation, where legionaries would lock their shields together to form an armored shell. This technique was unique to the Romans and would have been completely alien to anyone in Han Dynasty China. The chronicle also noted their use of double wooden palisades to fortify their camps.
The location of this battle was near modern-day Uzbekistan, precisely where the Parthians would have stationed their captured Roman mercenaries. Dubbs' theory was electrifying. After serving the Parthians for years, the lost legion had either been captured by the Xiongnu or had switched sides, eventually fighting and being defeated by the Han Chinese. This was the first documented contact between the Roman and Chinese empires, not as traders or diplomats, but as soldiers on a forgotten battlefield. The story gets even more specific. The Han Dynasty Chronicle states that after the battle, over 100 of these strange mercenaries were captured by the Chinese. Impressed by their military skill, the Chinese general didn't execute them. Instead, he took them back with him and established a new county for them to settle and guard the border. The name of this county? Liqian, which was the ancient Chinese name for the Roman Empire, likely derived from Alexandria. The theory now had a location. Modern researchers identified a village in Gansu province, still called Zheilejia, on the site of the ancient county of Liqian, and when they visited, they found something remarkable. Some of the inhabitants had distinctly Caucasian features, green or blue eyes, lighter hair, and taller noses, traits that are very rare in the Han Chinese population.
Could these people be the direct descendants of the lost Roman legion? The story became a media sensation. The village of Liqian leaned into its new fame, erecting Roman-style statues and calling itself the Roman Village. Local people claimed Roman ancestry and told stories of their unique heritage. It seemed like the final piece of the puzzle had fallen into place, a living link to a 2,000-year-old mystery. The Ghost Legion had finally been found, living peacefully on the fringes of the Chinese Empire. But this is where the popular story and the historical evidence begin to diverge. Mainstream historians have raised serious doubts. They argue that fish scale formation could describe many types of overlapping armor or shields, not necessarily the testudo. Furthermore, no Roman artifacts, no coins, weapons, or armor have ever been found at the site of the battle or in the village of Liqian. The lack of archaeological proof is a major hole in the theory.
Then came the genetic evidence, which was supposed to settle the debate. Several DNA studies were conducted on the male population of the village to trace their paternal ancestry. The results were conflicting and controversial. Some initial studies suggested a small percentage of Western Eurasian origin, but later, more comprehensive studies found no significant link to a Roman source population. The DNA evidence was, at best, inconclusive, and at worst, a complete refutation of the theory. Skeptics also point out that the Silk Road was a melting pot of ethnicities. The presence of people with European features in a Silk Road town is not surprising. Merchants, missionaries, and migrants from Persia, Sogdia, and other Indo-European groups frequently traveled and settled in the region. The villagers' unique looks could be explained by any number of these groups, without needing to invoke a lost Roman legion from centuries prior. The name Liqian is also debated. While it did refer to the Roman world, some scholars argue it was a more general term for the Hellenistic West, and its use as a place name doesn't automatically mean Roman inhabitants. So the theory that once seemed so perfect, a vanished legion, a strange mercenary army, and a village of their descendants, began to look like a series of incredible coincidences, a romantic story unsupported by hard evidence. So we are left with a historical crossroads. One path is the simple, boring one. The legion was annihilated, and the Chinese chronicle describes some other group of Western mercenaries. The other path is the exciting one, a direct physical link between two of the ancient world superpowers, a story of survival and adaptation against impossible odds. History is often a choice between the probable and the poetic. But let's revisit the battle in 36 BC. The Chinese forces captured not just the men, but also their city. The description of the battle is unusually detailed for a minor border skirmish. The Han historian seems to have been particularly fascinated by these strange soldiers. The level of detail suggests this was not a common encounter. They were something new, something that defied the Chinese understanding of their neighbors.
Proponents of the theory argue that the absence of evidence isn't evidence of absence. Roman legionaries were practical. Their armor and weapons would have worn out and been replaced with local equipment. Their coins would have been melted down. After being integrated into the Han military system, their material culture would have vanished within a generation. All that would remain is their training, their DNA, and their story. The final picture, then, is not one of certainty, but of a persistent and powerful possibility. It's a story that has captured the imagination because it bridges two worlds we think of as separate. The Legion's journey, if true, represents an incredible feat of survival, a 3,000-mile odyssey from the deserts of Persia to the frontiers of China, a march from one empire into the heart of another. The legend of the Lost Legion of Liqian is a testament to how history is written and rewritten. It is a blend of textual analysis, archaeological debate, and modern genetics. While the consensus among historians remains skeptical, the story refuses to die, fueled by the compelling details in the Chinese text and the enduring mystery of what happened to 10,000 of Rome's finest soldiers. Whether the villagers of Liqian are truly descended from Romans or not, their story highlights a forgotten history of interaction along the Silk Road. The ancient world was far more interconnected than we imagine. Ideas, goods, and people traveled vast distances, creating unexpected pockets of cultural fusion. The Lost Legion is simply the most dramatic possible example of this ancient globalization. So we have a catastrophic defeat, a vanishing army, and a cryptic clue in a foreign chronicle. The theory seems perfectly balanced between fact and fiction. But this is the final unsettling detail that most accounts leave out. The Han Dynasty Chronicle doesn't just mention the fish scale formation. It gives a name for the city these mercenaries were defending. And that name has a strange, almost impossible echo of a place they should not have known.
The city they fought from was called Zigi. The founder of Troy, from which the Romans claimed their own descent, was named Tros. It's a linguistic longshot, but for proponents, it's the final poetic link. Did this lost legion, exiled at the end of the world, name their last bastion after the mythical homeland of their ancestors? The possibility adds another layer of legend to the ghost army of China. While the name Zigi and the fish scale formation are the most famous clues, the Han Chinese observers noted one more detail about these strange soldiers. It was an aspect of their culture, a specific public ritual they practiced that was common in Rome, but completely horrifying to the Chinese. To discover the Roman tradition that shocked the Han court, I reveal the full truth in the related video below.